Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce Amferia to you. And Amferia is a company that was spun off from Chalmers about 7 years back. And as you can see from our logo, we are in the business of killing bacteria. At Chalmers, we developed a new material that had the ability or has the ability to rapidly bind and kill bacteria with high specificity without causing any harm to the body. It's been 7 years since we started, and I'll take you through a little bit of our journey and where we are today in terms of the company and the commercial readiness of the technology. In simple terms, the technology revolves around a new material that, when it comes in contact with bacteria, has a tendency to attract the bacteria towards itself and puncture a hole through the membrane, rapidly disrupting it. This picture behind me shows you living bacteria that's stained in green on a material that is not functionalized with Amferia technology, and dead bacteria stained in red, which is just a few seconds, matter of minutes after it comes into contact with the material. And that's how quick it is. And it doesn't matter if the bacteria is resistant to antibiotics or not. Some of the most dangerous antibiotics resistant strains have been tested against this material, and we see extremely good effect and rather high specificity without the harm to the tissue cells. The technology itself is built on something called antimicrobial peptides. The antimicrobial peptides are small proteins that are originally part of our innate immune system. Not only humans, animals have these, some plants have these. And these peptides are rather unique in a way, but also very commonly found in nature. The way they work is that our immune cells use these as a first line of defense when they encounter a pathogenic organism, be it bacteria, fungi, or viruses. They deploy these peptides when they come in close contact, and they go directly and puncture a hole into the membrane of those cells. And the great thing is that these peptides have also additional biological actions to it. It not only kills the microbe, but binds to the microbial toxins, stopping them from releasing into the bloodstream, which is quite a common case for sepsis and prolonged inflammation that prevents healing. They also have the ability to stop bleeding, enable faster coagulation, and have the ability also to regulate certain immune markers that enable faster healing, for example, in wounds. The funny thing is that these peptides haven't been known for forever. Even before penicillin was found out, Alexander Fleming discovered the first antimicrobial peptide and knew that this was probably one of the most potent antimicrobial that exists and that could be brought clinically viable. The strange thing is you wouldn't find a single product, a device, or a drug that utilizes antimicrobial peptides today in the clinic. And there's one fundamental reason for that. These peptides are highly unstable. So the moment you try to mimic them synthetically, try to take them out of the body or try to manufacture them synthetically and apply them as an application onto a device, for example, as a coating or as a freestanding wound dressing or even as a pharmaceutical, these peptides immediately degrade. The body's enzymes and proteases come and attack these peptides, chop them down within a matter of seconds and make them inactive. And that fundamental biological stability issue has been plaguing these peptides for a very long time. And solving that is the core innovation of Amferia. So what we developed back at the university was a new material platform, a gel-like solid material that sort of mimicked the physical characteristics of this peptide and binds these peptides permanently to its surface, protects them from protease degradation, enzymatic degradation, and keeps them active, not for a few seconds or minutes, but up to weeks. And that jump in its stability and while keeping the antimicrobial activity intact was the first sort of breakthrough in this technology, and directly we filed for a patent and incorporated the company. Since then, the company has filed 4 patent families revolving around different aspects of these peptides and the materials. The first patent family is now granted across all the major jurisdictions that we've filed in. That's 6 countries, US, Europe, major parts of Asia as well. And today we are taking this forward for applications, starting with human and animal wound care but the platform has shown promise also in critical care when it comes to decolonization and cleansing, as well as possibility to apply them as coatings onto various types of medical devices. I will talk to you about the wound care side because that's where we are operational in. That's where 100% of our focus is in today. And I won't spend too much time detailing the market for you. The wound care market just in EU and the US is massive enough. And there is a growing need when it comes to antimicrobials because this particular field has been relying on legacy technologies, which uses silver as the most commonly used antimicrobial for addressing infections in wounds. More so on the animal side, where there is pretty much nothing because even silver is not used, and a lot of reliance is on systemic usage of antibiotics. But the story is not really what's happening on the market, right? Because it's big, everyone knows this. The story is what's actually happening in the market and what are the disruptive shifts that has happened over the last 12 months, which is really played to our timing and the company's timing. And I want to bring up 3 of the most important shifts that has happened, and these are extremely disruptive shifts in the medical device space, specifically on the wound care space. The first one is reimbursement changes in Germany. So Germany has explicitly stated, we are not going to reimburse silver-based dressings. So if you want to use those, pay out of your own pocket. That's not going to work. And what they are proposing is novel ways of addressing antimicrobial technologies that does not release antimicrobials into the body in excessive amounts, but having a very targeted, specific way of killing bacteria. The US also brought in a new reimbursement law, which is going to come into force from January 2026. In the US, one of the biggest used products on the wound care side is so-called skin substitutes. So these are biologically derived wound dressings that utilizes animal tissue as the wound dressing. And it's a very commonly used and the most advanced product, and by far the largest piece of the market in the US. The problem with these dressings is that they're highly prone to infection, and the infection rates are growing the more people are using it. The dressing costs a few $1,000s for a square centimeter, and when it gets infected, they just have to throw it away, and the Medicaid has to reimburse for a new dressing. So this has made CMS come with a rather drastic rule that if you want to get reimbursed, make sure the infection rates remain low. And the good thing with these dressings for us is that it's incompatible with silver or legacy antiseptics. So that's another opportunity that is massive in size and very, very urgent that major companies are scrambling. And the third biggest shift that has happened is on the veterinary side, which is our second biggest market, is that in Europe, major countries in Europe, starting with Spain, Portugal, and Germany, the authorities have said that no more systemic use of antibiotics unnecessarily. You really need to have a good reporting strategy and good costs for using systemic antibiotics for procedures which actually do not need a systemic use, but rather can be treated locally, for example, in post-operative care. All these 3 combined just happened in the past 12 months, has opened up a sort of a whirlwind of activity and the pursuit of new technologies, which sort of puts us in a very interesting position because Amferia's technology and our first product is a contact killing wound dressing, which utilizes these peptides that are permanently bonded, and when it comes in contact with the wound bed, binds the bacteria to it without releasing any of these peptides and kills the bacteria onto the dressing. And this is very interesting because you actually have a perfect local and literally local effect in addressing bacteria, not causing any release and being able to have high specificity. Right now, we are in the last stages of the FDA approval process. We filed for a de novo track, meaning a novel device track with the FDA. And the regulatory strategy puts this as a class 2 device, which means that we get the FDA clearance on the product first before we move into more detailed clinical work to get the product onto the market. But already what we are seeing is major companies who deal with silver as their first line of product are reaching out to discuss possible strategic partnerships as we wait for the FDA approval. And we know that we are at the last stages, so we expect the approval to come through in the next couple of months from the FDA. And US will be the first market where we will access through strategic partnerships and enter the acute space first. Europe will come later. The product will be class 3, and we do have clinical work ahead of us. We have one completed human study and one more in planning, and the execution will start next year. And MDR filing process will also happen end of 2026. That said, I'd also like to highlight our animal wound care operations where we are on the market today. So the products are being used in Europe, in 9 countries in Europe, for companion animals, cats, dogs, and horses in the veterinary hospitals for acute and trauma care. The last 5 years was our clinical development work. We worked with clinics to gather all the clinical data required for launch. Launched it in February this year with a private label model. So we manufacture the goods and we sell it through strategic partners with the private label model. Within the first 6 months, we have about close to 80. I think it's closing in on 100 clinics who are becoming regular users. These are big hospitals covering Switzerland, Germany, and Spain, which are the top performing markets. And it's growing. That adoption rate is fascinating to see. And that has a lot of relevance to how we, to the previous slide on the regulatory shifts that's happening on the veterinary space, on limitation on the use of antibiotics. And that is evident when we interview the hospitals post-market as to see why the adoption is going. A strong pipeline to address chronic wounds and also dermatology applications are in development. So wound dressings that can absorb a lot more fluid, and a spray-based technology to address difficult to treat wounds as well as in dermatology is on the way as well. And the second product is expected to go into animal health later this year. We had our first breakthrough in sales in 2024, €500,000 roughly. And this year we are closing in on €2.5 million in sales from the animal health market alone. And this is a mix of existing customers, and we are expected to launch in the US and UK later this year, beginning of 2026. The preparations are ongoing. And that's expected to double and grow significantly. And these numbers are purely from the contractual obligations of the partner, both from a minimum purchase commitment against exclusivity, but also from a very conservative estimates on the adoption rate and market penetration rate. And when it comes to the human side, I think we see a high potential of a strategic partnership to go in by the beginning of next year, directly after the FDA approval comes through. So these numbers are here estimates, but I honestly don't know what will happen. But it's an exciting time. We have a strong team, started off very scientific, now moving into becoming more commercial. And we have recent additions on pure commercial development and also on the QA RA side. And the team is, we are 10 people today, and we are supported by a very strong consulting operations team who are veterans from the wound care market, from a regulatory, commercial, market access, and clinical side of things. Yes, so that was the last slide. And I'm over time. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please raise your hand if you have any questions. Yeah.
So I was wondering, is this only applied for superficial wounds, or does this work for deeper wounds? Do you have any products coming up or anything for deeper ones?
So the first product is for acute superficial wounds, primarily post-op. And we have the second product coming in for more chronic, non-even infected wounds, and the spray-based technology that comes in.
Cheers.
You were talking a little bit about, and I'm not sure if... Oh, sorry.
That was a question.
Yeah.
Yes, I had one small question here. Regarding, while it's a medical device and so on, is there any limitation regarding the sterilization method, E-beam or ETO? Can it manage everything, or will there be some slightly decrease?
It's a radiation-based sterilization because the material contains certain amount of water in it. So radiation, regardless of what type it is, works perfectly fine. ETO is not suitable for this.
Thank you.
Okay. No further. Okay, so you're self-funded going forward, so to say. You don't need to raise any money to.
We are in the final days of closing our round, and it's thankfully filled in. We are in oversubscription mode right now. So if you have an interest, please reach out, and I'm happy to discuss the details. But yes, this would be the last round for the company.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Time goes fast, as I say. We have to move on.